This is a true life story. She would love to hear your thoughts and what you think about her story. Make sure you watch till the end because the ending is shocking and there's a lot to take away from it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. The story begins. Astrid and Patrick had been married for nearly a decade, their lives outwardly perfect, but quietly burdened by one glaring void. They had no children. Despite years of trying, including multiple failed rounds of IVF, their home remained eerily silent, unfilled by the laughter of little ones. Astrid, a nurse at a local hospital, was a deeply compassionate and generous woman. She devoted herself to helping others, believing that kindness was the key to blessings in life. Her work kept her occupied, allowing her to avoid dwelling too much on her unfulfilled desire for motherhood. Astrid said to herself, "If I can't have my own child, at least I can bring comfort to others. Maybe that's where my purpose lies." Patrick, on the other hand, was a wealthy businessman who provided everything Astrid could ever need. Despite his immense success, he was growing restless. His desire for children troubled him, and Astrid's insistence on working long hours, even when they didn't need the money, created a growing rift between them. When Astrid's younger sister Laura came into their lives, it seemed like a chance for Astrid to do something meaningful. Laura had been thrown out by her boyfriend after giving birth to a child, and she had nowhere else to go. Against Patrick's objections, Astrid insisted and opened their home to Laura and her newborn. Astrid said to Patrick, "She's my sister, Patrick. She has a baby to care for, and she's all alone. Maybe helping her and the baby will bring us the blessings we've been praying for." Patrick reluctantly agreed, though he couldn't hide his discomfort with the arrangement. And so, Laura and her baby moved in, setting into motion a series of events that would unravel Astrid's life in ways she never imagined. After Laura moved in, Astrid was initially relieved to see her sister settling into their home. She believed she had done the right thing by helping her, even if Patrick wasn't fully on board with the decision. However, to Astrid's surprise, Patrick began going above and beyond to care for Laura and her newborn. Patrick, who had always been a pragmatic and somewhat reserved man, suddenly became deeply involved in Laura's and her baby's lives. He would come home early from work to spend time with them, bring gifts for the baby, and even handle errands that Astrid hadn't thought to do herself. He transformed into a doting caregiver, something Astrid had never seen before. He held the baby with practiced ease, rocked him to sleep, and bought expensive items, a state-of-the-art stroller, designer clothes, and even a custom crib for the nursery. Astrid was taken aback but grateful. Astrid thinking to herself, "Maybe this is a sign. Patrick is showing such kindness. Perhaps it's his way of coping with the pain of not having children of our own." Laura, meanwhile, didn't seem the least bit uncomfortable with the extra attention. She accepted Patrick's generosity as if it were her due, often flashing a grateful smile that Astrid couldn't quite place. Patrick's behavior, though surprising, seemed to strengthen the household's harmony at first. But as weeks turned into months, a subtle unease began to settle in Astrid's heart. His attentiveness toward Laura began to feel disproportionate, almost as though his care for her went beyond familial obligation. Astrid pushed those thoughts aside, chalking it up to her imagination. After all, Patrick was simply being a good brother-in-law, or so she thought. She admired his generosity, convinced she had the perfect husband. "You're incredible, Patrick. You've gone above and beyond for Laura and the baby. I'm so grateful for you," Astrid said, smiling as they sat together one evening at dinner. Patrick shrugged off her praise with a forced smile, avoiding her eyes. Astrid's long hours at the hospital kept her away from home most days. Her absence created a void that Patrick and Laura filled together. While she worked, Laura and Patrick grew closer. It began so innocently. Patrick would help Laura with the baby or chat with her over coffee. But soon their bond crossed boundaries. They started sharing moments that felt intimate, lingering glances, secret smiles, and eventually forbidden touches. One night, Patrick handed Astrid her usual glass of wine after dinner. "You've had a long day, Astrid. Drink this and get some rest. You need it." Unknown to Astrid, Patrick had spiked the drink with sleeping pills, ensuring she wouldn't wake while they shared forbidden moments upstairs. Months passed, and their secret affair deepened. Laura discovered she was pregnant with Patrick's child. Patrick, overjoyed by the news, began showering Laura with lavish gifts, designer clothes, jewelry, and even a car. "Don't you think she'll notice all this? You're not exactly subtle, Patrick," Laura says playfully during one of their secret moments. "Let her notice. Soon she won't matter anymore," Patrick said. Astrid, oblivious to their deceit, continued to focus on her work and tried to maintain her crumbling hope for a child. But everything changed one fateful night. Astrid came home earlier than expected. She was exhausted but eager to surprise her family. As she climbed the stairs, she heard muffled laughter and voices coming from her bedroom. Pushing the door open, she froze in horror. There, on her marital bed, were Patrick and Laura, wrapped in each other's arms. What is this?" Astrid's voice trembling with disbelief. Patrick stumbles out of bed, trying to cover himself, fumbling for an explanation. "Astrid, I can explain." Laura, on the other hand, remained in bed, smirking slightly. She didn't look surprised. "Explain what? She deserves to know the truth." "Look, Astrid, you weren't supposed to find out like this, but it's better this way. Patrick and we're in love. I'm carrying his child." Astrid shaking her head, tears streaming. No, this can't be happening. Patrick, Laura, after everything I've done for you." "And I'm grateful, but Patrick and I love each other. I'm carrying his child." Astrid felt her world shatter around her. The sight shattered her. The man she loved and trusted, the sister she had selflessly supported, had both betrayed her in the most unimaginable way. Patrick showed little remorse, coldly informing her that he wanted a divorce. He planned to marry Laura, whom he now referred to as the mother of his child. "Astrid, I'm sorry. I never wanted this to happen, but it did. And now it's time we face the truth. This marriage isn't working. You can't give me children. We need to move on. I'm filing for divorce. Laura and we can build a family together," Patrick calmly said. Astrid was devastated, but the worst was yet to come. Desperate for support, Astrid turned to her parents, only to be betrayed once more. She poured out her heartbreak, expecting them to comfort and console her, but their response was not what she expected. Gently but firm, her father said, "Astrid, we admit Laura made a mistake and we understand how you feel, but Patrick is right. He needs children. You can't give him that. And if he's going to marry someone else, is it not better that it is Laura? At least this way his wealth stays in the family and he continues to support and provide for us." Astrid staring at them in disbelief and trembling with rage. "You can't be serious. Laura is my sister. How can you say this? Do you hear yourselves? You're okay with this because of money? What about my pain? My marriage? It's not ideal, but it's practical. Patrick has already made his decision. Forgive Laura. Accept this new arrangement. It's the only way to keep the family together," her mother said. Their words felt like a knife to Astrid's heart. Astrid sits in her car, alone and broken. Tears began streaming down her face. Replaying the betrayals in her mind, her voice grows stronger as she speaks to herself. "They betrayed me, all of them. But I'm not going to break. Patrick thinks he can take everything from me, but he'll regret underestimating me. They think they've won. They think they can throw me away like I don't matter. But they're wrong. I won't let them destroy me." She drives off with a determined look on her face. Amidst the pain, a spark of determination ignited. Her world had crumbled in a single night, yet she vowed to rebuild, not as the woman who once trusted blindly, but as someone who would make those who hurt her pay. After Patrick and Laura's betrayal, Astrid moved out of their mansion and into a small apartment she rented with the little savings she had. It wasn't much, but it was hers. The betrayal had left her with nothing. Patrick controlled most of their wealth, thanks to the prenup he had forced her to sign. Still, Astrid knew one thing. Patrick's wealth and power had been her shield, and now she needed to learn how to fight on her own. Astrid began her revenge in silence. While Patrick and Laura flaunted their relationship openly, Astrid dug deeper into their secrets. She knew Patrick's empire wasn't built entirely on honesty. His business dealings often skirted the law, and he wasn't as untouchable as he pretended to be. She reached out to old friends, investigators, and even a few rivals of Patrick's. Slowly but surely, she pieced together a web of his financial misdeeds: tax evasion, illegal offshore accounts, and bribery. She didn't just want to expose him, she wanted to ruin him. Patrick thought he could destroy me and move on without consequences. He has no idea what's coming, Astrid said to herself. At the same time, Astrid kept tabs on Laura. She learned that Laura was beginning to feel the pressure of her new role as the soon-to-be wife of a wealthy man. Laura had underestimated how much scrutiny came with being in the spotlight. Rumors were flying in social circles about her betrayal of her sister, and Astrid made sure those whispers grew louder. The first step of Astrid's plan was to hit Patrick where it hurt: his reputation. She anonymously leaked documents exposing his illegal dealings to the press. Within days, news outlets were filled with headlines about Patrick's shady business practices. His clients started pulling out of deals, his stocks plummeted, and government agencies began investigating him. Patrick's once confident demeanor crumbled. He was rarely seen in public, and when he was, he looked stressed and depressed. Laura said to Patrick during an argument, "I didn't sign up for this. You promised me a life of luxury, not a life of hiding from reporters and investigators." Patrick snapped at Laura angrily. "Do you think I wanted this? Someone is out to get me." He suspected Astrid, but couldn't prove it. Astrid's next move was more personal. She knew her parents had sided with Laura because of Patrick's wealth, so she decided to dismantle that illusion. She secretly arranged for them to find out about Patrick's financial troubles. One afternoon, Laura and Patrick were at her parents' house for a visit. Astrid sent an anonymous package containing a forged legal notice, warning about Patrick's frozen accounts and pending lawsuits. Astrid's father, reading the letter aloud, panicked. "What does this mean, Patrick? Are you going broke?" "It's just a misunderstanding. My lawyers are handling it," Patrick said, trying to hide his frustration. Astrid's mother, looking at Laura, concerned. "Are you sure you'll be taken care of? If Patrick's businesses fail, what will you do?" Laura, flustered, realized her position wasn't as secure as she thought. Astrid's ultimate revenge came when she found the perfect opportunity to expose Laura's hypocrisy. She discovered that Laura had been secretly meeting her ex-boyfriend, the same man who had abandoned her and their child. Laura had been confiding in him about her doubts regarding Patrick. Astrid to her private investigator. "Follow her. Record everything. I want no room for denial." The investigator caught Laura and her ex in an intimate embrace. The pictures of Laura and her ex-boyfriend locked in an intimate embrace were damning. Astrid wasted no time forwarding the evidence to Patrick, attaching only a brief note. The note says, "Betrayal breeds betrayal. Look closer at the lies around you." When Patrick received the evidence, he felt as though the ground had been ripped out from under him. He had sacrificed everything, his marriage, his reputation, and his wealth, for Laura. Now, the woman he had trusted had proven herself no better than the one he had betrayed. That night, Patrick confronted Laura. Patrick throwing the photos on the table. What the hell is this, Laura? You've been sneaking around with him, haven't you? Laura stammering, trying to grab the photos. It's not what it looks like, Patrick. I was just talking to him. Talking? Don't insult my intelligence. I gave up everything for you, everything, and this is how you repay me? Laura fired back. Don't act like you're innocent, Patrick. You cheated on Astrid with me, and now you're surprised I could do the same? Patrick was livid. For the first time, he realized how foolish he had been to trust Laura. As Patrick's anger simmered, doubts crept into his mind. He looked at Laura's child, his supposed child, and for the first time he wondered if the boy was truly his. Laura's betrayal with her ex cast a shadow over everything. That night he ordered a DNA test, collecting a sample from the child and sending it off in secret. The waiting period was agonizing, but Patrick was determined to know the truth. When the results came in, his worst fear was confirmed. The child was not his. Patrick confronted Laura once more, with the DNA test results in his hand, Patrick holding the paper in her face. You lied to me. You let me believe this child was mine. How long were you planning to keep this from me? Laura falling to her knees, crying, Patrick, please, I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I thought he was yours. I swear I didn't know. You knew. And even if you didn't care. You used me, Laura, just like you used your sister. And now, I'm done. Patrick walked away, leaving Laura to collapse in a heap of tears. The scandals surrounding Patrick destroyed his empire. His businesses were seized, his wealth vanished, and his reputation was in tatters. Laura, who had built her future on Patrick's promises, was left with nothing, with no wealth, no home, and no prospects. She returned to her parents' house, bringing her 2 children along. At first, they welcomed her, thinking she might still find a way to recover her former lifestyle, but it quickly became clear that Laura had nothing to offer. Her parents, who had once supported her betrayal, began to resent her. Without Patrick's wealth, Laura was no longer a source of pride or benefit to them. Her presence became a burden, especially with 2 young children to feed and care for. Astrid's father said to Laura, I don't know why you're still here. You've brought nothing but trouble to this family. First, you betrayed your sister. You ruined your sister's life for a man who wasn't even the father of your child. And now you can't even provide for yourself. How shameless and reckless can you be, Laura? You've disgraced this family. The mother continued from where the father stopped. You've brought us nothing but shame and problems. You're a grown woman. You need to figure this out on your own. We have our own problems to deal with, Laura. We should have never taken your side. They refused to support her any longer, treating her with contempt and bitterness. The warmth they had shown her before vanished. They reminded her daily of the shame she had brought to the family, calling her selfish and reckless. She became an outcast in her own family, shunned by the very people she had betrayed Astrid to please. Her life became a nightmare. Laura struggled to find a way out. She applied for jobs but was repeatedly rejected. Employers saw her as unreliable due to her lack of work history and the scandals surrounding her. The few friends, she had disappeared after Patrick's downfall. She was utterly alone. Her parents' constant criticism broke her spirit. Why are you treating me like this? You said I was doing the right thing when I married Patrick, Laura said to her mother in tears. We didn't think you'd fail so miserably. At least with Patrick, you were useful. Now you're just a liability. Her parents' words hurt her deeply. They began demanding that Laura pay for her and her children's share of household expenses, knowing full well she couldn't afford it. They gave her ultimatums and threatened to kick her out. Her children, too young to understand the full extent of their mother's predicament, often went to bed hungry. Meanwhile, Astrid uncovered the truth about the sleeping pills Patrick had been giving her. She sought legal advice, and with her lawyer's help, she built a solid case against him. In court, the evidence of Patrick and Laura's betrayal, combined with the drugging, turned the case in Astrid's favor. Patrick was ordered to pay a substantial settlement. Astrid found her strength. She used her divorce settlement to open a fertility clinic, dedicating her life to helping women struggling with infertility. Her fertility facility, New Dawn Women's Wellness Center, became a beacon of hope for women struggling with infertility. Her dedication, empathy, and first-hand understanding of the pain these women experienced made her a trusted figure in the field. The center offered state-of-the-art treatments, counseling, and holistic support. Within a few years, Astrid transformed her small clinic into a thriving chain of fertility and wellness centers, and soon it gained national recognition. Her wealth began to grow. Astrid built a life that was not only financially secure, but deeply fulfilling. People who had once pitied her now envied her. As Astrid's success became the talk of the town, her parents couldn't ignore it. They watched in astonishment as the daughter they had dismissed rose to prominence, gaining the respect and admiration of the community. Their love for money and status clouded their judgment, and they suddenly and conveniently realized how wrong they had been to betray her. "We were so blind. Astrid was the one with real potential, not Laura. Look at what she's built. We need to make things right with her. We need to get back in her good graces. She's wealthy now, and we can't let that slip through our fingers," Astrid's mother said to her husband. One evening, Astrid received an unexpected knock at her door. Standing there were her parents, looking older and more tired than she remembered. Their expressions were a mix of shame and desperation. "Astrid, my darling, it's been so long. You look wonderful." Astrid crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. She didn't invite them in, forcing them to speak from the doorway. "Astrid, we've come to apologize. We've made terrible mistakes. We were wrong to side with Laura. Had we known how things would turn out, we would have supported you. We regret it every day," Astrid's father with a trembling voice. "We've lost everything. Laura has become a burden, and the family has fallen apart. We need you, Astrid. Please forgive us." Astrid studied them for a long moment. She could see through their words. They weren't there out of genuine remorse. They were there because of her success. She had always known how much her parents valued money, and their sudden change of heart confirmed her suspicions. Astrid looked at them, her heart torn. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed everything a family is supposed to stand for. You chose wealth over family, and now that wealth is gone, do you expect me to fix everything, to forget what you did to me?" Her parents hung their heads, unable to meet her gaze. "We were wrong. We see that now. You were the one who always gave, who always loved us without expecting anything in return. We should have stood by you. Please forgive us. I don't need your apologies. What I needed was your support when my life was falling apart. But you weren't there, and now you show up at my door because you think I've made something of myself." Her mother wiped at her tears, trying to look pitiful. "But we're your parents, Astrid. Families make mistakes. Surely you can forgive us." "Forgiveness isn't about words. It's about actions. If you want forgiveness, prove to me that you've changed. Until then, I think it's best if we keep our distance." Astrid's rejection hit them hard. They had expected her to welcome them back with open arms, especially after all they'd been through. Instead, they were left standing in the doorway. They returned home in silence, the weight of their actions finally sinking in. As her parents left, Astrid closed the door and leaned against it, letting out a deep breath. For years she had dreamed of this moment, imagining how satisfying it would feel to see them cry and beg. But now that it had happened, she felt no joy, but closure. As the days turned into weeks, Laura's bitterness grew. She saw how Astrid had risen above the pain and thrived, while she was left to deal with the consequences of her actions. One evening she called Astrid. "I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you survived everything. I'm sorry, Astrid, for everything. I was jealous of you, of the life you had. I thought if I took it, I'd be happy. But I was wrong. You were the better sister all along." Astrid listened silently, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. After a pause, she replied, "I don't need your apology, Laura. What's done is done, but I hope you learn from this. Betrayal only leads to destruction." Laura broke down in tears, realizing that the sister she had betrayed was the one person who had shown her true kindness even when she didn't deserve it. Patrick, now alone, began to reflect on his actions. He had betrayed Astrid, a woman who had stood by him through everything, for a fleeting affair with Laura, her own sister. He had destroyed his marriage, thrown away his reputation, and gambled his entire life, only to end up with nothing. One evening, he sat in his now empty mansion, scrolling through old photos of himself and Astrid. He couldn't escape the guilt that consumed him. For the first time, he realized how deeply he had wronged her. Patrick attempted to reach out to Astrid, sending her a heartfelt letter. "Astrid, I've made mistakes, terrible ones that I can never undo. I let my greed, my selfishness, and my pride destroy the best thing that ever happened to me. You. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I needed to say this. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you find happiness, even if it's without me. Patrick." Astrid read the letter but didn't respond. His words, while filled with regret, couldn't undo the damage he had caused. As the days passed, Astrid couldn't shake the image of her parents standing at her door, looking frail and remorseful. She thought about Laura's children, innocent victims of the chaos and betrayal their mother had sown. Despite everything, Astrid's heart softened at the thought of the little ones. She began to wrestle with her conscience. Astrid said to herself, "It's not their fault. They didn't choose this life. They're just kids, caught up in the mess Laura and my parents created." After much deliberation, Astrid decided to offer some help, not for her parents or Laura, but for the children. She contacted a lawyer and arranged for a small trust fund to be set up for their basic needs. The fund would ensure they had food, clothes, and access to education. Astrid, to her lawyer, "This money is for the children only. I don't want Laura or my parents touching a cent of it." Feeling a sense of obligation, Astrid decided to visit her parents' home. She wanted to see for herself how the children were doing. When she arrived, the house was in disarray. Laura sat in the corner, looking depressed and defeated, while her parents argued loudly in the kitchen. The children played quietly on the floor, their clothes worn but clean. When her parents noticed her, they immediately stopped arguing and rushed over, their faces lighting up with hope. "Astrid! Oh, thank goodness you're here. We knew you'd come around. The children need you, and so do we." Her father nodded, trying to hide his desperation. "You've always been so kind-hearted. We knew you wouldn't abandon your own family." Astrid ignored them and focused on the children, kneeling down to speak to them softly. She handed them some small gifts she had brought, watching their faces light up with joy. As Astrid stood to leave, her mother grabbed her arm. "You can't just walk out, Astrid. We're struggling here. Laura can't manage on her own, and we're too old to keep this up. We need your help." Her father chimed in. "We've learned our lesson. Please, Astrid, don't punish us any longer. We're family." But As Astrid listened to their pleas, she realized something. They weren't apologizing out of genuine remorse. They were still trying to manipulate her, using the children as leverage. On her drive home, Astrid replayed the visit in her mind. She thought about the children's innocent smiles, but also about her parents' and Laura's insincerity. She realized that if she stepped in to help, she would only enable their behavior. They needed to face the consequences of their actions and learn to fend for themselves. The next day, Astrid called her lawyer and cancelled the trust fund. Astrid to her lawyer: "I wanted to help, but I can't. They have to learn to stand on their own. I won't let them drag me back into their chaos." Astrid chose to channel her energy into her foundation and the women who truly needed her help. She donated the money she had planned to use for the trust fund to a local shelter for single mothers, ensuring it would benefit children in need without being wasted on her family's greed. She never returned to her parents' house, and she made it clear she would no longer entertain their requests. With time, Astrid found peace. She had no desire to rekindle her relationship with her parents or Laura, but she no longer carried the burden of their betrayal. She had risen above their actions and created a life filled with purpose and meaning. They broke me, but they didn't destroy me. I learned that sometimes your greatest betrayal comes from those closest to you. But with every betrayal comes a lesson: to value yourself above all else. Though the pain of betrayal never fully faded, Astrid emerged stronger. Her life flourished, and she continued to inspire others, proving that sometimes the best way to heal is to walk away, for good. She learned that sometimes even the deepest wounds can lead to new beginnings. Betrayal had broken her heart, but it didn't break her spirit.